So the Nvidia 3080 Ti is out now. We have a bunch of reviews to go on. Let's talk about how it compares versus the 3080 and the 3090 and sort of summarize the opinion of everybody who's reviewed it. Hey guys, Tiago with Classical Technology here. Some say every time you subscribe and smash that like button, you get a little bit closer to actually getting a 3080 Ti, and probably not because it is quite difficult to get. But the good news here is that people did get the 3080 Ti. I heard some stores had as many as 100 GPUs, such as Micro Center. So maybe, who knows, maybe going forward, we're going to be able to have more GPUs be out sort of in the wild. So we're going to talk about the 3080 Ti first as it compares to the 3080 and then as it compares to the 3090, because I think both are pretty important comparisons. So to summarize all of the 3080 Ti reviews, most of them are very lukewarm, not too positive. I think many people thought that, let's take the MSRP of $1199 compared to the MSRP of $699 for the 3080, knowing of course MSRP completely arbitrary, like the numbers are pretty crazy right now. But if you compare sort of apples to apples with the original MSRP, people thought that really there isn't that much of a performance gain for the price that you're paying. So we thought that Nvidia was going to price this at $999, but coming in at around $1,200, it kind of shows you the state of sort of everything that's going on now with pricing, with availability. So to summarize most reviews, I think Linus Tech Tips was the only one that was a little bit more positive towards this GPU. Most reviews just said it's really not enough gain for the price. This is of course keeping in mind that people who pay $1,200 for a 3080 Ti, you can consider yourself pretty lucky because the street price is already sort of $1,900, $2,000, over $2,000 for sort of the base and the Founders Edition models, with some other models going for even over $2,000 already for MSRP, something like an Asus Strix or something like that. So the price is certainly very high. Performance wasn't really that much different. That's why a lot of people had pretty much a lukewarm review. So first, let's compare it to the 3080. Now, the 3080 has been one of the most difficult GPUs to find at all, more than the 3070 and the 3090. I don't know if it's something to do with the VRAM or what allocation in the manufacturing, but the 3080 certainly has been one of the rarer GPUs to find. Now, the 3080 Ti, we're going to have to see what availability is. So if we're comparing availability, we can only hope that the 3080 Ti will be a little bit better. This is going to be a major reason. It does have the LHR, or the Lite hash rate. That basically means that it's only going to mine at around maybe like 60 mega hash compared to something like a 3090, which should be maybe twice that, and it's still going to have a pretty high power draw, maybe close to 300 watts. Compare that to a 3070, which has the 60 mega hash also for Ethereum mining. It's a lot more efficient, being somewhere from like 110, 125 watts, something like that. So you see that it really isn't that great of a GPU for mining. That hopefully is what's going to keep it sort of in stock for gamers and for people that want to get it. I'm sure that if it was a full hash rate mining GPU, it would have sold out probably even faster, because then people just see a return on investment on this type of unit. So this is going to be a huge difference between the 3080 Ti and the 3080. But do keep in mind that going forward, the new ones that Nvidia will produce, even the 3080, 3070, basically all their GPUs except for the 3090, that's also going to have that light hash rate limit. So just keep that in mind. The 3090 seems to be the only one that's not going to have that, and Nvidia has sort of hinted that in the future they could unlock these GPUs, maybe at a time when stock sort of normalizes and more people can get them. So while you may not be able to use them now to sort of subsidize your investment in something like a 3080 Ti, maybe in the future when things are more normal, it might be something that you'll be able to do. So that's definitely going to be one of the main differences. In terms of the actual performance, yes, it's going to be a little bit better than the 3080, not by much. It does have an extra 2 gigabytes of VRAM. This is going to be also the fast GDDR6X, so it should give you a little bit more room in really intensive games, maybe 4K, or in the future as we start to get to 8K. Certainly will give you a little bit more headroom. We definitely don't need the 24 gigabytes of VRAM for gaming that the 3090 has, so that's definitely sort of a sweet spot. So I think it really comes down to which GPU that you want to get, and if you intend to use it maybe just for gaming. If you're a gamer and you're going out in the market and seeing the prices of these GPUs, I think the 3080 Ti actually makes sense, because even though the MSRP is more than the 3080, you're not really going to find it for that. Most likely it's going going to be a little bit more expensive. You're not going to find a 3080 anywhere for 700 or 800 bucks. Most of them are actually priced pretty close to the 3080 Ti. So my recommendation, if you see the 3080 Ti and all you want to do is game, I would definitely go for that. It's going to give you a little bit more performance, and price wise it's going to be pretty close to what the 3080 is on the secondhand market, or even with third-party AIB retailers. So now where it gets interesting is when we compare it to the 3090. Now the 3090 off the bat will have some advantages. First, the Founders Edition, it's going to have a much beefier cooler, so it's going to be definitely maybe a little bit more quiet. It does have a beefier cooler, but third-party AIB coolers generally will perform just as well or even better, especially when it comes to the VRAM temperatures, which the 3090 has been known to run definitely pretty hot. So the 3080 Ti actually compares in specs in a lot of ways to the 3090, and likewise compared to the 3080, it's going to be just a little bit less performance, and in some cases, from some reviews that I've seen, it looks like the 3080 Ti may even beat the 3090 in certain games. So by no means is it a GPU that's any less of a gaming beast. So I guess it makes sense, since it has less VRAM, probably more of that GPU power is just going to power the GPU itself and not have to worry about all the 24 gigabytes of VRAM such as the 3090. Now, if you're a gamer, I still think, of course, the 3080 is going to be great if you get it at a good price, but I think the 3080 Ti is definitely going to be the sweet spot here. And one important note about the Lite hash rate limit, the 3090 is unaffected by this, so if you're a gamer and you also want to sort of mine on the side to subsidize some of that cost, the 3090 is going to be your best bet. And a lot of cases in terms of pricing, just like the 3080 is often close to the 3080 Ti, sort of in the real market, the 3090 likewise in many cases is still around that low 2000 range. Some models can go a little bit higher, so in all said, it's really not that much more expensive than a 3080 Ti sort of on the open market. Now, of course, if you're talking MSRP, and if you can get a 3080 Ti at $1,200 or $1,300-$1,400, that's going to be a different case. At $600 or $700 cheaper than the 3090, you're getting as good, if not better, gaming performance for much cheaper. And if you don't worry about that hash rate limit, I think you'll be more than fine with the 3080 Ti. But if you do want to use it for some light mining and make some of that money back, definitely it may be worth a little bit extra investment to go for something like a 3090. And depending on how the market prices are, you may be able to actually get that 3090 for very close to what the 3080 Ti is, especially the AIB models. So as we can see, the discussion between the 3080, 3080 Ti, and 3090, it's definitely not cut and dry. It's going to depend a lot on the GPU that you can find, and at any time you may actually find one GPU in similar pricing structure to the other GPU. I've seen 3080s as high as $2,400. I've seen 3090s as low as $1,900 or $2,000, and likewise I'm seeing the 3080 Ti pretty much fall within that range. So pricing can actually be very similar, which is really weird because, okay, performance is similar amongst the three, but it's no doubt that the 3090 definitely is still the superior GPU. It has 24 gigabytes of VRAM, and it doesn't have any of the limitations with the hash rate. So ideally, if you can find that for a close price to everything else, that would be my first option. If you can find a 3080 cheaper than the other two, that's going to be your second best option. But if everything is sort of willy-nilly and you're just a gamer and you can't really find anything for a better price, I think the 3080 Ti actually makes a lot of sense as like a very straightforward down the middle GPU. It has performance of the 3080 close to the 3090, and it's going to have pretty much all the advantages except that hash rate limit, which may in fact be lifted in the future. Now, I know that I've mentioned this Lite hash rate limit numerous times, but I really think it's kind of a big deal because that takes out a segment of the market that would be looking to buy these GPUs, or at least it gives them second thoughts about paying higher prices for something like a 3080 Ti if they can't immediately like throw it in their rig or something like that in order to make some of that money back. So that's why I mention it a lot. I think it actually makes more difference than we know, and we'll have to see if it actually has a positive effect on the market in terms of gamers being able to buy these GPUs. At least optically, it's what Nvidia seems to be doing. Now, if they unlock these GPUs and the demand is still high and bad availability, that's not going to help anybody. I could only see them unlocking after there's sufficient stock of all the GPUs, because as we see, there definitely is a limit to what people are willing to do. If you look at some retailers selling some of the AMD GPUs like the 6900 XT for $2,500 or $2,600, in a lot of cases those GPUs actually do not get bought and they stay on the shelves. So I think a lot of retailers and Nvidia knows that if they price these too high, there's going to be definitely a limit, and they're going to be sort of in the market because nobody's going to want to pay those prices. So they do have to find that sweet spot. But hopefully all these changes and the new 3080 Ti, hopefully they can produce more of them than the 3090 or the 3080. That way we just have more going into the hands of gamers. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you think about these three GPUs. What would you choose if the price was similar, and if you saw it for sale, and if it's something that you were looking to get? Remember to subscribe, smash that like button, and I'll see you guys on the next video.